Typically, movies portray us to be dog catchers, where we're running around outside chasing dogs with nets. But in reality, we handle a variety of calls involving animals, whether it's sick or injured, if it's a dog running loose, if it's wildlife that's been orphaned. Anything involving animals we'll respond to.
On a very complicated day, we can have up to 9, 10, 11 cases. And that's not counting whatever we had that was open from the days before. So that can come up to having 1 to 3 open cases and then just the regular calls during the day.
Typical case we respond to during the day could be a sick or injured wildlife, whether it be an owl that got stuck in some fishy line, or it could be a fox that's been hit by a car. It could also be a fox that's been infected with mange, which is a big problem in the county. It could be a sick or injured domestic animal, like a dog that's been hit by a car, or a feral cat that's suffering from a common illness that hasn't been able to get treatment for. It could be a dog running loose, an animal suspected of having rabies, a welfare check, maybe an animal that has been left outside in the cold without proper shelter.
Spring and summer, just because people are out more and they actually see the violations, either the violations or the wildlife, and that's when we get called out more for wildlife and also for dogs running loose or dogs defecating in somebody's yard or dogs just barking outside and causing noise violations.
Anytime we come across a dog that has been running loose or has become stray, we take every effort possible to reunite it with its owner before having to come to the shelter. It's very important for the owners to make sure that they have some sort of identification on the animal, a collar with tags. A Fairfax County dog license is very important. We're able to look up that county number to obtain the owner's address, name, and phone number. We'll respond to their house and return the animal if possible. A microchip is also very important. So once the animal does come back to the shelter staff can scan it to get that microchip number. But it's very important for the owners to remember they need to keep that information up to date. So if they move, if they change their phone number, they need to contact the microchip company to make sure everything's up to date so we can reunite the animal as soon as possible.
This is what we call a catch pole. We have different sizes. This one you can actually adapt from a 3 foot to a 6 feet. And we have a loop at the end with a rubber to protect the dog. We also have rubbers at the end to protect the dog also. We have the end with a wire that we will pull back if you have the dog's head in the front, and that way you can actually tighten it over the neck of the dog and secure the dog, either to avoid the dog to escape or to avoid an animal control officer or a citizen to be bitten by this dog. One that we typically use a lot more during the summer, it's a snake tongue, and what it does is when we go out to houses and we have a lot of snakes in the basements, we try to catch the snake, and imagine my finger being the snake. We just trap the snake with it, secure it, not hurt it, and just move it away, take it out, put it outside, free it, or whatever the case may be, injured or relocate it. We also have, for a more skittish dog or scared dog, a dog that's not aggressive and it's not going to bite, this is called a snap it sneer. It's a regular leash, but it's a quicker release on it. And if you hold it and it has the loop's not on. But the idea of the snappy sneer is to be able to catch a dog without you being bitten, but at the same time to control the dog, so it won't run away until either somebody comes and helps you or the dog calms down enough that you can walk with him without him being fearful or attack or bite. So these are some of the equipments that we have, some of the equipment that we use daily. We have different things in here depending on the animal and the conditions of the animal, if it's a wildlife or it's a regular domestic animal. I like a lot about interaction with the animals. I love the wildlife. I like doing the cases for the wildlife. I like the interaction with the people also, try to educate them about wildlife and why wildlife does what it does and how to deal with them, how to get them out of the yard or out of their houses, or how to rehab wildlife. I also like the aspect of the law enforcement side, protecting the animals that are under that condition or circumstances where the owner is trying to do the best they can, but they don't really know how.
The typical call we get at animal control involving a welfare check usually involves a dog that has been tied up outside and is being left unattended without proper shelter, food, or water.
We get a lot of dogs barking. They don't know why. You can't see the dog, so they can't tell you is the dog injured or he's just barking because he's annoyed. When we get out there, it's because the dog's so tangled that he can't even get away from where he's at. So he's completely tangled, unable to move, unable to free himself, and the only thing they can do is bark and cry as loud as they can to see somebody comes to the rescue. And that's when we come in and can't find them, follow the noise, and you find the dog tied up, unable to see him. Okay. So that's what happens.
Once we arrive at the address, we're going to take a general assessment of the area, where exactly the dog is tied up, if it's in a hazardous area, if it has all the proper elements that it needs to be left outside. We're going to check and make sure that the doghouse is of sufficient space and also of design. We're going to check and make sure the animal has food and water. We're also going to check and make sure the animal isn't tied up in an unsafe location where the animal could get itself tangled up on other objects or other animals, where there's not a fence line close by that the animal could jump over and hurt itself that way. Once we assess the animal and its condition, we're going to approach the house to attempt to make contact with the owner to see if we can get an explanation as to why the animal is left out there unattended, and maybe educate them about the reasons why they need the proper doghouse, why they need the water available, and see if we can maybe get a solution to those problems.
And just make sure that the leash is 3 times the length of your dog. That way she has room to move around, and if she needs to go to the bathroom or something like that, she can move around.
If we find a violation at the time, it's officer discretion as to whether they will issue a summons for the violation or have the owner remedy the violation immediately, or give them a time frame to fix the issue. The most typical call for service is probably calls involving wildlife, whether they're sick or injured, if they've been orphaned, or if they are showing behaviors that are possibly rabies symptoms. The goal is to stabilize the animal, get them healthy again, and get them ready to be re-released back into the wild.
So there's a lot of things involved with animal control related either to animals or somebody's pet or wildlife.
I love being an animal control officer. To me, it's about giving the animals a voice, being able to help them, whether that's take them out of the wild, get them rehabilitated to release them again, or to take a domestic animal out of a bad situation, get them up for adoption and into a loving home.